Attention, we're going to go through how to work with the compound interest formula. So what you would have done in the past, folks, is you would have used the whole set of tables in 3H1. In 3H1, you would have done it in a very long and laborious meaning time-consuming and boring sort of way. What you would have worked out is if you were investing, say, $1,000 at 10% interest for what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4 years. You would have seen that your principal or the amount that you put in at the start is $1,000, and then you would have worked out how much interest is earned, which would have been about $100, and so that your new principal comes out to be $1,100. Okay, do you remember doing that in 3H1?
Yeah.
All right, and that took forever, didn't it? And I'll tell you another reason why it's going to take forever, because this N here means the number of periods. And the number of periods in any calculation is, in a question, how it might be compounded monthly, say, for 4 years. All right, so the N is if it's compounded monthly, that means every month there's a compound equation happening. So every month, there's 12 months in a year. And if it was for 4 years, how many of these would you have? How many sort of parts of the table would you have in this question? You'd have 48. Can you imagine how long that would take to get that calculation? You'd have to do 48 of these. Down the track in year 10, 11 and 12, you'll invest some money in a bank in a question, and that will be compounded daily, okay? And it might be a mortgage of 25 years. What would the N be there? Someone with a calculator. The N there, or how many of these would you have to do in a table? 9,100. 9,125. You'd have to do 9,125 of these calculations, and wouldn't that take forever? It'd be a horrible way of going about it, a terrible process. We know how to work with Excel spreadsheets. That might clear it up a bit, but ultimately it would take quite a while. So instead, we are looking at using this formula. Okay? Remember, we had our table up here. At the end of 4 years, you would have had the future value calculation. Okay? That's what that would have given you. If you did all these calculations that were up here previous, the future value at the end of the 4th year would have been the future value. Okay? The present value was how much? How much was that in that example that I used just prior? How much was the present value, Alex? Yeah, it was $1,000. We put in $1,000. That was our present value. Okay. The interest rate, the annual interest rate, what was that? Can you remember, Georgie? I think I said it was 10%. Okay, which is 0.1. You should be able to recognise that that's 10 over 100 now, which is 0.1. Okay, and the N was 4 years times by, it was compounded once, so the N was 4. Okay? Now, if you were to put these values into this formula, you would have 1,000, 1.1 raised to the power of 4. Now, if you were to do that on your calculator, what do you get, please? If you can all do that on your calculator. Some of the buttons that you are pressing, you're inputting 1,000, and then you're putting in a bracket, then you're putting 1.1, and then you are using a button that looks like that probably, and your brackets, and then to the power of 4. Actually, I'll do them around the other way, sorry. Oh, whoops. Oh, if I can undo that. So I'll come around and help you if you need some help with that button pressing on your calculator. So 1,000 starter brackets, 1.1 xy, or raised to the power of 4. Looks like that on your screen generally. And then end of brackets. Does anyone need any help with that? So what did you get there, Ash? You haven't done it yet. What'd you get, Jess? Oh, sharing. Yep. So, Connor, the answer you get there?
1,464.1.
1,464.1 means 10 cents. Yeah? Okay. Jess, did you get that? Yep, cool. What that means is when you went through all of this table setup, that this future value would have read $1,464.10. Now, when you were doing simple interest, remember that formula said interest equals PIN. Remember the PIN formula? What you worked out when you did PIN was you worked out how much interest that investment was going to get. Whereas this answer gives you the amount that you invested, $1,000, plus the interest. Okay? So how much interest did this account give you? How much interest did this account give you, Alex? How much interest could have this given you? Jess? Yep. Often this answer, or every time this answer will give you the amount you put in plus a little bit of interest. Okay? So do you want to have a guess there of what it might have been, Jess? Excellent. $464.10. Good girl. So the amount of interest was $464.10. How did we work that out? We worked it out using this formula. Our future value was $1,464.10. In the future, our $1,000 will grow to $1,464.10 if we put in a 10% account for 4 years. Take away our present value or our start value, which was 1,000. That will give us our amount of interest, our amount of compound interest. Our compound interest was $464.10. Okay, are there any questions with that process? Hands up if you like that formula a lot better. I think all of you will because it's quicker. All right, and the important thing is, your age particularly, is a little bit about speed. We do like to do things quicker than slower. So, when we look at a question, let's look at a question there. What will $5,000 invested at 8% compound interest amount to after 2 years? Okay. So what I'd like you to do, if you could just pay attention here, please. I reckon your first step is to do that. Write out the formula. And then the habit I want you to get into, Ryan, you might want to listen to this at the moment. The habit I'd like you to get into is writing down what your PV is, writing down what your I is, and writing down what your N is. Okay? So start doing this process. That's what I'll be expecting to see in tests. Okay? That your present value in this one is 5,000. Your interest, what would be your interest there, Jess? Sorry? What's your interest there, Ash? 0.8. Good. And your N on this occasion, Connor? 2. What does it look like? It looks like this, that our future value equals 5,000, 1.008 That's what I didn't get there. I didn't write that down properly. Sorry, Ash. Raised to the power of 2. Okay? Because our 8% is 8 divided by 100, which is 0.08. Yeah? 5,000 equals 5,000 times 1.08 raised to the power of 2. Gives us a total of 5,832. That's the total you will pull out after 2 years. After 2 years, that 5,000 would have grown to $5,832. Now, with that, the next part of the question, Alex and Jess, if you just pay attention a bit, how much interest is earned? The amount of interest is earned, that total there is your 5,000 that you invested at the start. Okay? So that's not interest, that's your money. That's money that you started with. So the amount of interest that you earned was the future value, what your 5,000 grew to, subtracted from your 5,000. Leaves you with $832 in interest. Okay? I implore you, or I expect that to happen every time. Okay? So Ryan's, Luke that have done this, Georgie, I expect this to be written out at the side of every question. Okay? Are there any questions with that? Can I explain that better? No? I guess I'll leave you with that. Shuffle your cups if you need help, or call me over. 3H2 is where you should all be at, please.